She didn't expect anything fancy that day, just a quiet moment to watch a childhood friend say, "I do." Wearing a simple dress and holding a modest gift, Anna blended into the background like she always did. She wasn't there for attention. She wasn't there to steal anyone's spotlight. But what happened next shocked every single guest at the wedding. It started when the bride's eyes locked onto Anna from across the room. A flicker of recognition, then something darker. Before anyone could make sense of it, the bride stormed over and in front of a room full of people, slapped Anna. The music stopped. Glasses clinked. Conversations froze. Whispers spread like wildfire. Who was this simple woman the bride seemed to hate so much? And why would the bride risk ruining her own wedding to confront her? Anna stood still, too stunned to speak, her cheek burning not just from the slap, but from the stares of 100 confused guests. But just as the room held its breath, someone unexpected stepped into the chaos. From the back of the venue, a man in a sharp black suit walked forward with calm, deliberate steps. The air shifted. People turned. Some gasped. Others whispered his name, Daniel Cortez. A billionaire known for keeping a low profile and rarely attending public events. But here he was, walking straight toward Anna. Not the bride. No one could understand what was happening. Why was one of the richest and most private men in the city suddenly here? And why did his expression turn so cold when he looked at the bride? Everything changed in that moment. And as Daniel reached for Anna's hand, the truth behind their past, and the bride's shocking outburst, was about to unravel in a way no one saw coming. But before a single word was spoken, the doors slammed shut behind them. The heavy, wooden doors echoed as they shut, sealing the room in silence. All eyes were still on Daniel and Anna. She looked up at him, unsure what to say, but he didn't speak either. His hand gently rested on her back, as if to protect her from whatever might come next. The bride, still trembling from her own outburst, stood frozen in place, her white gown almost glowing under the golden lights. The groom looked lost, shifting his eyes between his new wife, Daniel, and the woman no one could seem to understand. Whispers swirled. Guests leaned into each other, trying to piece together the scene. Some recognized Daniel Cortez from magazine, covers or business news, known for his luxury hotels, private investments, and silent demeanor. But no one knew he had any connection to Anna. That was the mystery. Anna had always lived a quiet life. She worked at a small flower shop downtown, barely got by most weeks, and kept to herself. She wasn't rich. She didn't chase status. And yet, somehow, this moment, this very public moment, had placed her at the center of something bigger than anyone could have imagined. The bride's voice finally broke the silence, trembling and bitter. "You weren't supposed to come," she said, more to Daniel than to Anna. "You said it was over." But Daniel didn't respond to her. Instead, he looked down at Anna and quietly asked, "Are you okay?" Tears welled up in her eyes, not just from the slap, but from everything else behind it. Memories, secrets, promises broken long ago. The truth was, Anna and Daniel weren't strangers. They had history, complicated history. But she had no idea he would show up here. Not today. Not like this. And as the guests began murmuring louder, trying to fill the silence with guesses and gossip, one question hung heavier than all the rest. What happened between Anna and Daniel that turned this wedding into something so much more? Anna didn't answer Daniel. Her lips parted slightly, but no words came out. She couldn't find her voice. Not with the bride glaring at her. Not with everyone watching like this was some kind of show. Her heart pounded in her chest, louder than the murmurs around the room. The bride, Camilla, took a slow step forward, her voice cracking with each word. "She lied to me. She made me think you were gone for good. She played the innocent one, but look at her now, Daniel. Standing here like she belongs. Anna flinched, but didn't speak. She hadn't wanted to come to this wedding. Camilla had sent the invitation last minute, almost like an afterthought, or maybe a test. Still, Anna never expected it would turn into this. Some guests began to quietly leave their seats, trying to inch toward the back, uncomfortable with the rising tension. Others stayed frozen, unable to look away. Meanwhile, the groom, Ethan, stood beside Camilla, confused and clearly out of the loop. "Camilla, what's going on?" he asked. "Who is she to you?" Camilla didn't answer. Instead, she turned toward Anna again. "She's nothing. Just a florist who pretended to be a friend while chasing someone she was never meant to have." Daniel's jaw tightened, and his calm expression shifted. "That's enough," he said quietly. "You don't know the full story." Anna finally found her voice, soft but steady. "None of you do." Her eyes scanned the crowd, then settled on Camilla. "You think I came here to ruin your day. I didn't, but you already knew who I was when you invited me." The room grew, heavier with silence. Subtle glances passed between guests, some recognizing Anna's name now, others slowly recalling old rumors. Because the truth was, before Daniel became a billionaire, and before Camilla wore that white dress, there had been a different life, a different story. One that started years ago, with a promise made in the dark, a promise that had never truly been broken. Camilla's hands trembled as she stepped back, her eyes never leaving Anna. The sparkle in her bridal gown suddenly felt out of place, too perfect for a moment this raw. "You don't get to stand here and act like a victim," she hissed, her voice sharp but shaky. "You were with him first. You had your chance." Anna swallowed hard, but her voice was firmer now. "I didn't lose him. You took him." Gasps rippled through the room. The tension was now thick enough to cut through. Daniel didn't move, but the weight of his silence said everything. He had let this unfold. Let the two women speak while he stood between their past and the future neither of them truly understood. Ethan, still trying to make sense of it all, stepped forward. "Someone explain what's going on. Camilla, is this true? You knew about her and Daniel?" His eyes darted between them, searching for something real, something that hadn't been a lie. Camilla didn't answer. She looked down, her lips pressed tightly together. But Anna knew the answer already. She had always known. This wasn't an accident. It wasn't jealousy or a misunderstanding. This entire wedding had been built on a secret, one Daniel had buried, and Camilla had taken advantage of. Anna turned to Daniel now, her voice barely above a whisper. "Why didn't you ever tell me the truth? Why did you disappear and let her wear the ring that was meant for me?" Daniel's eyes met hers, filled with something between regret and pain. But before he could speak, a voice from the far end of the room broke the silence again. "I think it's time they all knew," said an older woman, stepping forward from the shadows. Her presence sent a chill through the air. She wasn't on the guest list, but she knew them all. And with that single sentence, everything began to unravel. All eyes turned to the older woman who had just stepped forward. Her silver hair was pulled into a neat twist, her sharp eyes scanning the crowd with calm authority. No one recognized her, at least not right away. But the moment Daniel saw her, his face went pale. "Mother," he said under his breath. Hush fell over the room again. It wasn't just shock at her sudden appearance, it was the realization that someone with real power had entered the story. Evelyn Cortez, Daniel's mother, known for staying out of the public eye and keeping family matters buried deep, until now. She walked toward Anna with slow, deliberate steps. "You were never just a florist," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. You were once family, and you would have remained family, if not for me. Gasps echoed across the room again. Camilla froze, her eyes darting from Daniel to Evelyn. Even Ethan looked stunned, his mouth slightly open. Anna's voice caught in her throat. You were the one who sent him away? Evelyn gave a slow nod. I didn't believe you were good enough. You didn't come from wealth. You didn't have a name. I thought I was protecting Daniel, but I was wrong. Daniel stepped forward, his expression torn. You never told me the truth. You let me think Anna walked away. But Evelyn wasn't finished. Her gaze turned cold as she looked at Camilla. And you knew. You were my insurance. You helped me keep Anna away, and in return, I promised you everything. The ring, the status, my son. Camilla's face went white. The perfect image of the bride started to crack. Just then, a phone buzzed loudly in someone's hand. A video had just leaked, footage from years ago. A hidden conversation between Camilla and Evelyn, and in a matter of seconds, the entire wedding turned from whispers to chaos. The room exploded into noise as the video began playing on someone's phone, then another and another, screens lighting up across the room. Voices played clearly through the speakers. Evelyn's voice, Camilla's voice, plotting, agreeing, laughing. I'll keep her out of his life, Evelyn had said. And in return, Camilla replied, you get everything, just don't let him look back. Gasps turned to outrage. Some guests began recording the chaos. Others stared at Camilla in disbelief, the fairy tale image of her wedding unraveling with every second of that video. Ethan stepped back from her, a look of betrayal spreading across his face. You lied to me. You used me. This whole wedding was a cover. Camilla tried to reach for him, but he backed away. No, Ethan, Her voice cracked, but it was too late. Daniel turned to his mother, pain carved into every word. You destroyed everything. You made choices for me that were never yours to make. Evelyn, for once, had no response. The truth had stripped her of control. Anna stood silently, eyes glistening, until Daniel stepped toward her, not with force, but with understanding. I never stopped loving you, he said quietly. I just didn't know where to find you anymore. Anna hesitated, her emotions storming behind her calm face. Then, with a slow breath, she nodded. But I'm not the same girl I was back then. The room held still, waiting for what would happen next. Then, unexpectedly, a voice from the back called out, Actually, Anna's not just a florist anymore. A man stepped forward holding a legal document, one announcing that Anna had inherited her late aunt's shares in a major tech company weeks earlier. Quietly, Anna had become a millionaire. Everyone looked at her again, but this time with a very different kind of awe. The simple woman they once overlooked now held the power to walk away from all of it. A hush fell over the room again, but this time it wasn't tense, it was heavy with realization. The story everyone thought they understood had flipped completely. Anna, the simple woman, in a borrowed dress, wasn't just someone from the past. She had built her own future, quietly, on her own terms. Camilla looked around, her eyes desperate for someone to defend her, but no one did. Her groom stood at a distance, her guests whispered behind their hands, and even Evelyn seemed smaller now, stripped of her influence. Everything Camilla had built, every lie, every calculated move, had crumbled in one night. Daniel reached for Anna's hand again, softer this time. If you still want me, I'd like to start over. Anna gave him a long look. She saw the man she once loved, but also the years lost between them. The hurt, the silence, the choices neither of them had made. I don't know what's next, she said quietly. But this isn't the place to decide. He nodded, accepting her words without pressure. That was the difference now. As Anna turned to leave, guests made way. They no longer saw her as an outsider. Some even offered quiet nods. A few smiled in apology. She walked out with her head high, not in pride, but in peace. Outside the venue, the cool evening air met her skin. The noise behind her faded, replaced by the quiet steps of her own path. Not one built on someone else's name or money, but one she earned, and maybe that's the real story here. Not the slap, not the scandal, but the strength it takes to stand through it all, unshaken. Because sometimes the woman everyone overlooks is the one who walks away holding all the power, and that, in the end, is the kind of story that leaves a mark.